Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Breaking Mayberry Parental Control, the podcast miniseries that acknowledges that the only way to get close to your family is by watching television. I'm one of your hosts, I'm Marty Schneider.
I'm the other host, Dan Ludwig.
Welcome back. Hey, everybody. Dan and I haven't been around for a while. We took the entire summer off, which was nice, refreshing. I'd spent an entire summer without having to watch the fucking Andy Griffith Show.
And now we're extending that for as long as possible.
Absolutely. We are stretching this out. So remember last time we did a season break, we came back and we said, you know what, we can't do the Andy Griffith Show at first. We did I Dream of Jeannie with bottle episodes. So we're doing another mini series. We're going to get back to Mayberry. Don't worry. I think there's a handful of you who are like, I don't want to hear anything other than the Mayberry Show. And you people are weird.
One guy who yelled at us one time and has been in our heads ever since.
No, there's a couple. There's been more than one. Like, some people come in here exclusively for... Some people come to hear us talk about stuff, but some people come exclusively for the Mayberry stuff, and I haven't figured them out. But God bless you. Glad to have you here, I guess. Whatever. We're not doing this. We are doing a new mini-series called Parental Control, where we are sort of turning this back on ourselves and some of our favorite guests. We're bringing on guests to talk about shows that are associated with their parents. Either a show that your parent loved, parent or other relative or caregiver. Either a show that they loved when they were a kid, B, a show that they loved when you were a kid, or C, your parents' favorite show now. So to get us started, we're keeping it in the family, and so we have a new guest that we've never had this particular Ludwig on. We've had the other Ludwig sibling on, Annie Ludwig, Dan's older sister.
Younger. Still
sister.
younger.
Dan's younger sister.
Despite
Dan,
the energy. Yeah, I'm the oldest. Despite everybody's assumption.
Yeah.
I'm the middle, so
we've been friends for like 10 years. I should know this.
Yeah. No, I've had cousins announce Annie is the oldest. I do not care what you say.
Yeah. So, Annie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Quick question. Have you ever listened to your brother's podcast?
I have, but like right at the beginning, when you guys are like just getting in the groove of it. I'm not a big podcast listener. I'm more of like an NPR in the car kind of person.
So the exact opposite of our vibe.
So I like get distracted when I'm driving if I'm listening to podcasts, and I just don't like put headphones in when I'm walking around doing stuff. And I also I work in the city, and as a woman, I don't like to wear headphones when I'm walking around.
Fair enough.
I feel like I'm going to get attacked.
Right.
Fair enough.
More than fair.
So, Annie, we left it to you to pick pick the show and these episodes. So, you want to tell us what you picked? You picked the show, and you want to tell us what show you picked, and you want to tell us why you picked this show?
Yeah, so I picked Stargate SG-1.
Mm-hmm.
It was our dad's favorite show. I actually have to admit, while I know we're going to make fun of this a lot right now, I love this show. I just binge watched it 8 months ago. It's good.
You've watched this end to end multiple times, right?
No, so that's not true.
Okay.
There's a point it ran for 9 or 10 seasons, I think. 10 years.
Insanely long.
There's a point,
and then there are multiple spin-offs too, right?
Yeah, I've never watched the spin-offs. I've watched the original movie and I think I watched most of Stargate SG-1 when it was airing with Dad.
Mm-hmm.
But as a rewatch, there gets a point where they defeat the original bad guys, and they introduce these new weird bad guys that I don't vibe with.
Mm-hmm.
They bring a bunch of the main characters leave. They bring in new ones. And they stop using the Stargates, and the U.S. Air Force builds a spaceship. And I just am not for it. I'm like, wait, what are you doing? It's Stargate. Why are we in a spaceship? What's happening?
It's one of those shows that goes on so long where they're just like, cancel us, please.
Yeah.
We are
so like the first 5 seasons are my like that's what I rewatch. I just stop after.
It becomes like a Stargate of Theseus kind of thing, right? Like once you have replaced every member of the cast, once you've done all this, is it even the same? Is it even the same show anymore? You know?
Yeah. And the replacements were just like white people. Like it was just like, here's Steve Stevenson. He's a man. He has black hair.
I mean, I gotta be honest, man. This cast is pretty bland, except for like the one guy who is Worf Spock.
Yeah.
You know,
So I'm gonna disagree with you. I love all of them. Like this original cast. I'm like, if I ever saw them in the street, I would cry.
all right. So you're all in on this.
They helped raise us, basically.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to keep my mouth shut through a lot of this. This is Ludwig. This is Ludwig Family Power Hour, and I respect that, and I acknowledge it. I'm a guest in the Ludwig home at this point.
So knowing that you guys were gonna want to make fun of this show, I picked the 2 episodes that, off the top of my head, had the most ridiculous premise.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna ask. I was wondering.
These are not my favorite episodes. I was like, what will be the funniest?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You get what we're going with here.
Marty is like, thank God she's not insane.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was wondering why you picked these 2 episodes in particular, because I've never watched any Stargate SG-1, although this is also one of my father's favorite shows. Right.
Okay.
So
I feel like it's a dad show.
It's everybody's dad's top 10. It radiates. There are dads who have not seen this show who are like, top 5 shows, Stargate SG-1. Don't know what it's about, but it's in there.
And I will watch sci-fi stuff with my dad, right? I'm the one who got my dad into like Firefly, you know, but this one I couldn't. It never caught my interest. It was too military for me. It was too much.
It's also like a big buy-in, because to understand what's going on really well, you have to watch the movie,
right?
In which nothing happens for the first 45 minutes of that movie.
I would argue nothing happens for the second 45 minutes of the movie as well.
Yeah. So if you don't know, the show Stargate SG-1 is based on the movie Stargate, which stars Jack O'Neill, who in the show is played by Richard Dean Anderson, is played by Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
And then Daniel Jackson is played by James Spader.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie, like, to be honest, it's long, it's very 90s, and it's a long vine. And then the show starts with like 2 full movies to introduce the show. It's a lot.
I feel like the movie kind of introduced the whole ancient aliens thing too. Like this kind of like definitely popularized the pyramids were created by aliens thing. Because it goes hard on that. Like,
all right, so on the off chance that any of our listeners don't know what we're talking about, which I feel is unlikely because our listeners are a bunch of nerds, but can you give us just like broad strokes the premise of Stargate, either SG-1 or as a whole?
Yeah. So the whole premise is that at some point during a dig in Giza, archaeologists found this giant ring in the dirt, and eventually, between archaeologists and scientists, they realize that it's a space travel device. The American Air Force takes control of it, and eventually they get it to work. In the movie, they travel to another world that's very like ancient Egypt, and it turns out that there are these evil alien parasites that take over human bodies and pretend to be gods in order to like cultivate these humans for hosts for more parasites. So in the movie, they defeat the alien posing as Ra, the Egyptian sun god. And then in the show, they basically say, oh, it turns out we can go to all these other planets. And kind of how they start that is that one of the characters, Daniel Jackson, his wife is taken by the Gould, and he's on a mission to rescue her. And the Air Force wants to find alien technology to help defeat these aliens. So they just, every episode, go to a new planet and see what's there.
I was shocked to find out that Stargate came out in 1994. Like, that movie feels so much older. It feels like it has 1986 written all over it.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, I feel like anytime there is like a military intervention in the Middle East, which happened in the early 90s and also in the early 2000s, you always get like a movie about, we found something over there.
Yeah.
Like, there's a big trend of like, military guys found something over in the desert over there. Let's find out what it is. I was thinking about that recently because I watched all 3 Blade movies. And you can absolutely tell that there are some major developments in geopolitics between Blade 2 and Blade 3. And Blade 3 opens with a pyramid where they find a thing inside of it that's gonna be a big thing or whatever.
And like, so many movies open with like, hey, we're just a couple of hard-working guys, and someone is paying us to move this heavy rock, and I sure hope there's no ancient evil underneath it. Barry,
that's literally the intro of the movie.
Yeah, Barry, how close to retirement are you?
Oh man, let me just take out this picture of my wife and kids. I sure do love them.
We're joshing around. We're having a good time. We have a dynamic. You mentioned the aliens, Annie. The Gould.
The Guardians of Gould. Yeah.
There's two kinds of characters.
Okay,
there's
please.
2 kinds of characters. There are characters that pronounce it correctly, Goa'uld, which is like the way that Goa'uld say it, and then there's characters like Jack O'Neill, who's like Gould.
Yeah. Elliot Gould, right? It's the alien race of Elliot Gould.
Just a bunch of Elliot Goulds just crawling around in people's stomachs. But as a kid, one of my earlier memories was like actually seeing one of these fucking things and immediately being like, oh, this I now know that I'm too young for this, because they're like these nasty little freaks.
So the episodes you picked for us are Season 1, Episode 5, The Broca Divide.
Mm-hmm.
And Season 2, Episode 18, The Holiday. I'm sorry, it's just called Holiday. It's not The Holiday. It's not an episode where Jack O'Neill switches houses with Kate Winslet.
I'd watch that.
Yes. Watching Jack Black seduce Teal'c. Yeah, I'm down.
They switch houses, but Kate Winslet has to go to the Air Force base with the Stargate. Oh, this is charming.
Just going to Cheyenne Mountain.
Oh, I love all the concrete. Oh man!
So this episode is called Holiday, and it is every sci-fi show has at least one body switching episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's this one. And that's this one.
Yeah.
And
so I was going to say there's 3 basic kinds of episodes in Stargate, especially in the beginning. There are episodes where they go to a planet and the problem is on the planet.
Okay.
And there are episodes where they go to a planet and they accidentally bring a problem home.
Okay.
So both of these episodes are that kind of episode. The third kind of episode is like, we're going to sneak onto a spaceship and save the world and blow up a sun.
These ones, since they're like the wackier kind, they kind of feel like what if Doctor Who had way more bureaucracy? What if Doctor Who had to fill out paperwork each time he did an episode? Because this seemed so normal as a kid, and as an adult, it's so weird to see, like, I'm an uptight military man, and I'm reciting sci-fi jargon. We gotta fight Anubis and activate the Quablu. Like, yeah, the Dithar race, and it's just like, you feel like a character from Top Gun who is saying the wackiest shit I've ever heard.
I was thinking, I put these episodes on, and my fiance Sarah said, "Do you want to watch the first episode, so you know what's going on?" And I was like, no, I think I'll figure it out. And the very first line you hear is the like big Colonel Bald guy Colonel Bald Guy is saying, the Quillic ruins that we discovered have not been translated into an ancient realm of fortitude. And that's the very first line that I heard after I said, I don't need to, I'll figure this out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when he was like, the cartouche we found on Chulak, and the last symbol is the Holmes. I was like, they're not gonna know. They're gonna be very confused.
I feel like every single in between takes, Colonel Baldman turns to the camera and goes, "I was in King Lear. God damn it! I'm an actor. You need to make some of these words less silly. God damn it."
Every sci-fi show has a scene where like a nerdy character like says something real basically technical, like, "Oh, the megabytes on this are showing up a thing," and then the badass character's like, "English, please." Right? That always happens. Except that was me from the opening scene of this episode. But I got it. I'm like, okay, you found symbols on a thing, you don't know what they mean. Okay, we got it. Let's roll. Do we want to do Broca Divide or Holiday first?
Yeah, let's do Broca Divide first, because it's earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is very early on. It's like episode 5 of the entire series. And
they wilded out early.
All right, which one of you wants to give an overview of this episode, or should I go ahead and do it?
I'm really interested to see what you're
what I take from it. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this episode, our heroes are exploring different planets. They figure out you can use the Stargate to go to different planets. They go to a planet that's like P90X. That's what they call it.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
And like, there's a whole thing about like how these are not memorable names and whatever. They go there and they discover that this planet apparently doesn't move around the sun, because there's a light half of the planet and there's a dark half of the planet. The planet is also apparently very small because they walk from the light half of the planet to the dark, or they landed right on the equator. I don't know.
It's like one of the planets from Super Mario Galaxy where you can like jump to the next planet.
As a side note, look, I'm not one of those dickheads that's like, oh, why is everybody speaking English or whatever? But I didn't think it was kind of like, it's kind of a waste. It's kind of a boring if you can travel to every alien planet, but every alien is basically human.
So that's explained in the canon of the show.
Drop some lore on us.
I figured it was.
Yeah.
And I was looking at IMDb. I clicked on the little bit of IMDb trivia that was like, why do all the aliens speak English? And I clicked on that, and it was 9 paragraphs long.
So do you want me to give you the really short version?
Give me Cliff Notes. Yeah, Cliff Notes, please.
So the reason that most of the aliens they encounter are human was because they were kidnapped from Earth by the bad guys to form like little colonies of hosts that the aliens could take advantage of. Right? Like, so humans evolved on Earth, and then they were like, we're going to drop them all over the galaxy so that we have lots of little pockets of people to enslave.
Okay.
Right? And then there's something sometimes we can understand, like, so generally if they're humans and they're on a planet that has had a Stargate for a long time, that you just assume you can understand them. There's like some kind of a language thing with the Stargate.
Oh,
but also Daniel Jackson's a linguist. So he,
I think there was a thing of like they just kind of hand waved away. They're like, if you go through the Stargate, you can speak their language. I think there was like the Stargate does it.
Yes, sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah,
like if the Stargate knows that both the languages.
That is a reoccurring theme of like, you're like, all right, well this element doesn't make sense, and then Stargate is like, actually, I have 45 pages explaining exactly how that makes sense. Buckle the fuck up.
It's always amazing to me when there's like deep internal canon to explain what in real life was, because we didn't have the fucking money for it.
Yeah.
Why do all the aliens look like humans? Because we didn't have the money to make aliens.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
They were like, we're not doing the Star Trek thing where everybody is an alien, but they have like a googly eye taped on their forehead. We're actually going to make.
What are you talking about? There's a dude with a fucking belt buckle attached to his forehead. That's like a main character. He won his forehead in a rodeo.
We have to talk about Teal'c's forehead.
Marty, could you explain Teal'c to me?
All right, so as I mentioned before, Teal'c is both Spock and Worf. He's the only black guy on the show. And he has, like, a venom symbiote inside of him.
Yeah.
That I talk. And I cheated on this one because after watching 2 episodes and screaming, "What is your deal with this guy?" I had to look it up. So he was a warrior from a different planet, but like he's also a genetically modified human who is an incubator for one of the Guardians of Gould.
Yeah.
Inside of him. So he has a Gouldian. He has Elliot Gould inside of him.
Yes.
And Elliot Gould gives him super strength and like a regeneration ability, and he also does some kind of meditation to connect with the symbiote inside of him.
Yeah, this is the episode where we introduce that, and it is outrageous.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
He has so many deals going on simultaneously.
Just all angles.
He is like oops all characters. Like he is just they're like, how many types of guy can this be simultaneously?
But so you can tell. So he's the warrior dude, but he's also like the Spock to Jack O'Neill's Kirk, because he's the very calm and logical one. He doesn't understand the references. He's making this kind of noise. He's discount Lawrence Fishburne.
Yes.
So in this episode, our crew goes to this planet that has the light and the dark side, and they discover that in the dark area are these cavemen, basically. It's a race of like hominid cavemen, and then on the light side is advanced society that lives in a giant pottery barn, as far as I can tell.
It's particularly their introduction to the cavemen is fantastic because they're like, all right, we're gonna go through, we're like, this will be fine, and then they get what can only be described as a beatdown, where cavemen just descend on them and immediately start beating the living piss out of them.
So I have to. So that my favorite part of this episode is like when they're like, we sent the MALP through, which is basically like a giant 90s camera on wheels that they just like send through the gate to be like, is this planet safe? And they're like, so it's completely dark, we can't see, but we're sure it's fine.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna send you through, but with like friends.
Yeah.
If you brought in some Marines, they're gonna go with you. Usually anytime there are extra people who go through the Stargate with the main team, they all die.
They're red shirts.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm like, this is the only time that I don't like that they don't all die. So I was
if anything, the red shirts clown on them because they're like the main characters are like, all right, disposable meatheads, you guys can hang back, let us take the lead, and then they walk through like, oh fuck, oh shit, oh he's stomping on my head, and then the red shirts come through and are like, hey nerds, how'd that go? We're just gonna easily walk through this entire situation. Your jobs are not that hard.
And then they basically disappear for the rest of the episode. It's like we brought these military dudes, and there's like a conflict between the military and the science guys. In fact, Colonel Bald Guy even says, like, looks right at the camera and goes, is this gonna be the military versus science argument again? And I sat there going, yeah, I guess. Yeah. You wrote this, guy. Come on. You wrote this, motherfucker. You know what's going on. But then we kind of toss that aside because science becomes the enemy. They bring back a virus from the planet. They bring back a virus that the planet members or the people that live on that planet describe as a curse. Mm-hmm. They say the people on the dark side have been cursed by the gods. They have a curse, and we put them over there.
So the point that I have to argue you are missing the most is that these people, the uninfected people, the non-cavemen people on this planet, are dressed in what I can only describe as like peak Gen Z fashion. like a man in like a crop top with cleavage and chest hair. Just it's a hat.
We can never let them see that headdress that the main guy is wearing because that will be $200 at H&M.
We were watching, and there's like a couple there. Like we only ever see like 2 or 3 of these like light-siders.
Minoan people.
Yeah. And one of them is a woman whose tits are just out, and the other
Out.
is a guy
Just
whose
out.
tits are just out.
Yeah.
And so, very
you're
tits
also
out race.
The guard with the funny hat.
Yeah.
He looks like a cardinal almost, like one of those, but like blue.
You know what? Okay, I was saving this, but I want to skip to my favorite part of this.
Yeah.
Late in the episode, our team brings to the light siders, the Minoans, a member of their team that has been infected, but at this point cured. And they say, "We've got a cure. Listen to us." And the leader of the Minoans, the guy in the giant headdress, says, "Put him in the isolation cell, and we'll listen." And
it was the isolation circle. Which makes less sense.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure? Because the isolation cell or the isolation circle is a very wide open space in the same room. You just walk him to the other side of the room, put him on the stairs, lay him on the floor basically, where 2 guys with spears stand slightly in front of him.
No, it was the isolation circle,
It's
which
a
is
COVID
a collection
nightmare. Is what it is.
The isolation circle is a collection of throw pillows that they put him on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a chaise lounge.
Yeah, it's like if you were like, we don't want to get COVID, so let's just all lock you in a bedroom together. Right?
Basically what he said is drag his limp body up 3 steps and put him on some outdoor patio pillows.
But that's late in the episode. Before that, they bring back this very contagious virus from from P90X. Mm-hmm. They bring it back from that planet, and then it starts to infect everybody inside of the Air Force base where they are. And this is another standard sci-fi trope. It makes everybody really aggressive or horny or whatever. It's all based on very, very weakly thought out kind of survival of the fittest, like pseudoscience.
Can we talk about the science behind it? Because what it is you have a blood parasite that eats the part of that eats the chemicals that make you not a caveman, which is insane. Because apparently 20 minutes without this chemical, you develop a very thorough caveman brow ridge, severe bone deformities, and a unibrow, which I didn't know there was one chemical in my body stopping that from happening.
Dr. Fraser said they had increased follicle growth. Apparently just on their eyebrows.
Just one spot. They don't all get mega hairy. They all just are like, and we're going to put 1 sticker of hair here, and costume change complete.
Yeah, I just have to say, like, the makeup department on this show, killing it. Amazing. I love it.
With their budget of like $20 per episode, they are doing great.
So everybody's getting infected with this. They're all getting aggressive or extra testosterone, or they're getting caveman virus. With a couple of exceptions, Teal'c, because he's got his venom symbiote. That's
his little tummy buddy.
Yeah, his tummy buddy.
Junior, as they call him.
Yeah. He and the 2 doctors, Dr. Daniel and... So
he's an archaeologist doctor.
Okay.
Sam is also a doctor, but she's like an astrophysicist.
Yeah. Okay. So
but she's military, so they don't call her doctor.
Yeah.
Got it. They call her captain, right? Yeah.
Lieutenant. Mm-hmm. Why is it captain?
No, she's captain.
She's captain. Don't
later like, major and colonel.
Don't de-rank her, Dan.
Sorry.
She gets promoted, so it's hard for me to call her captain because most of the show she's major.
Okay. All right.
But she's captain.
But Dr. Daniel, what's the Daniel's last name?
Jackson.
Dr. Daniel Jackson, and then the medical doctor, the medic on there. They don't get infected. So the question is, why are these 2 humans, immune somehow? And I'm just gonna fucking skip to the end. It's because they took Benadryl.
Yeah.
It's because they're nerds with hay fever.
Yeah.
She said, we both take antihistamines. And I had to pause and be like, there's no way I'm thinking of what I'm the right antihistamines. Because there's no way that it's that they're taking a leave.
Yeah.
Aleve isn't an antihistamine.
Oh, is it not?
Aleve's not
No,
an
you're
antihistamine.
thinking.
Allegra.
You're thinking of Allegra.
Allegra.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to do that again?
It's because they're taking Allegra.
But yeah, Daniel Jackson being a sneezy nerd is like really canon, like from the movie.
Sure.
Continuously sneezing. Right.
You bring in.
That's
what Spader did at that
he
time.
Sneezes. Yeah.
Spader had such a weird range in the 80s and 90s where he was like a sex machine, but also a fucking dork.
Yeah.
Like he swung that pendulum back and forth. A good question is James Spader hot?
I don't know.
I'm gonna say yes. Andy, do you have familiarity with James Spader, or are we?
I mean, a little like from the movie, and then also like The Office.
Yes. Right.
So like Office, no. Or young James Spader, maybe.
Because like he appeared in like a lot of like erotic thrillers in the 80s. That was like how he made his bread and butter.
It's all voice. He has a really hot voice, right? I'm not crazy.
I think that's
Dan,
true.
that's a bold opinion for you to have.
I think he has a hot voice. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna take the stand, and people can yell at me.
I'm gonna say like maybe he's hot, but I don't know why.
I think that was how he made his living. I think a lot of people.
Yeah,
said
like
that.
a Benedict Cumberbatch kind of a situation.
Good call.
Yes.
Good
yeah.
call.
Yeah.
All right, so Daniel is immune to it because he takes antihistamines. So is the doctor. They discover this. They discover that like the disease feeds on histamine in your body. So if you don't have any histamine in your body, then the thing will starve. That's the pseudoscience behind it. Whatever, don't care. So their solution is to load up a bunch of trank darts with fucking Benadryl, and then just go in and just shoot the hell out of them.
I thought that they were going to be like, well, we have to spray them with some sort of gas, or like we need to have an ingenious way to introduce this into their water supply, and instead they're just like, we got Benadryl guns, people, open fire.
Because this show is pure military, right?
Yeah.
Like the U.S. military also loved this show. They'd got like blessings from the actual U.S. Air Force and everything. So I mean that's their plan. They're like, all right, let's just shoot them. Let's just.
I feel like that's probably a reoccurring thing on this show. Of they're like, all right, that there's this plague we need to solve, and we have these healing bullets that we're going to fire at them. I think it's probably like they probably usually load their solution into some form of gun and fire it at the bad guys.
So that's basically the episode in a nutshell. They fix it with Benadryl guns, and then everybody goes back to normal. And then there's some flirtation between the captain and Jack O'Neill because they had a moment earlier because she got like intense disease horny.
Yeah.
No one else gets disease horny.
In the locker room, which was like just bizarrely weird.
Yeah.
Kind of icky.
It really had a gross energy to it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they do not have like sexual chemistry like as actors, so it just really feels like stilted and uncomfortable.
Yeah. And they're like long game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like the whole thing where like they're in love with each other, but like he's her commanding officer, so nothing can ever happen. And then when they both retire, they end up together.
Right.
But, like, you're right. They don't have any chemistry. It's, like, not a good call.
I think their sexual chemistry comes from him making, like, offhanded comments every episode where he's just like, by the way, I'm attracted to you, but firing gun wildly into aliens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say that this is, like, one of the only episodes that has... one of the things I do like about this show, and I think it's the actress Amanda Tapping, who I've like watched some interviews where it sounds like it comes from her, where they don't sexualize her that much. Like she's wearing a military uniform. She said like episode 1 that like they brought her her costume and it had like a big push-up bra, and she's like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, she refused. And after that, like, they don't sexualize her that much. So, like, me watching this episode where she, like, has the little crop top and gets, like, really sexy and aggressive, I'm like, oh, I don't like it. Don't like it at all.
I think it makes it less sketchy. The fact that her doing, like, a sexy seduction is not like, oh, hey, big boy, do you want to hook up with me? And she's like, you, me, now, get on the ground. Like she's a linebacker. She's like, we're going. Pants off.
Yeah. But I just didn't, I was like, oh, I don't like seeing her like that. Because, like, in my childhood, like, she's, like, strong female character in the 90s. There's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
We had to hold on to what we had.
You got her and Buffy, and then it's slim pickings after that.
Yeah, Buffy also, though, like, wore a lot less clothes.
Yeah.
Samantha Carter.
Also, this is on the Sci-Fi Channel. So in terms of, like...
You are comparing, like, a 16-year-old girl versus a, like, 35-year-old military officer.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah. But, like, every other character in the show who's female has her boobs out. Like you
all
said
the time.
earlier. Like,
yeah.
Always. If they have boobs,
Not the doctor.
and they're out. No, the doctor, like, all the female military personnel, they do a really good job, I think, of keeping them, like, super professional and, like, smart and cool. Any female they meet on another planet, like, even the cool warrior ones, their boobs are out.
They're like, welcome to planet Cleavagia. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That actually gets pretty uncomfortable in this episode.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I'm going to skip that. We're not going to do that part. We're going to skip the part where, like, they have to sit there and be like, we just going to let the caveman assault this woman?
Oh,
Let's skip over that.
We can gloss over that.
Let's skip that.
Before we continue on to the next episode, I do have something I want to share with Marty because I think it'll delight him. Annie, what are the Gould stormtroopers called? Because I want to show Marty a picture of them.
The Jaffa. So that's what Teal'c is.
Teal'c is a Jaffa. Yeah.
Jaffa. So basically what they are is, like, they're enslaved people who serve as the Gould military. Because for some reason, even though Gould are obsessed with, like, making more of themselves and having human hosts, there are also, like, not a lot of them. And they never really, like, are there a lot of them or none of them? I don't know.
Marty, I'm going to drop a picture of the stormtroopers into the chat so you can get over it. They kill, like, 15 of those guys per episode.
Oh, a serpent guard.
Yes!
He's just wearing a big, stupid, like, papier-mâché snake head. He looks like he's marching in a Mardi Gras parade.
Yeah, so that's I think Apophis has all of his guards wear, like, weird metal snake heads. They
all
great.
have like Lord Helmet from Spaceballs headgear where it's just absurdly large. Like, how could you possibly see out of that? And it was the most fun it was my favorite thing as a kid to watch them die, because they would always be like, "Ugh!" and, like, just give in to the top heaviness of their entire upper body. It's fantastic.
And then they have the weird thing on their foreheads too.
Yeah.
Which some of them it's, like, printed on, and some of them it's, like, metal.
Oh, yeah.
And it has to do with their rank. But you'll appreciate this. There's one episode where, spoiler alert, they accidentally go back in time. That's another good one.
As you do.
Yeah, as you do. There's a solar flare, which throws them back in time.
I feel like that's the normal way they do it.
Yeah, and they have to hitchhike a ride. They're, like, in the 70s, and they have to hitchhike a ride with some hippies. And, one of them is like, dude, I like your tattoo. What does it mean? And Teal'c goes, it symbolizes slavery to false gods. And the guy's like, radical, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, as I watched this, because I never watched any Stargate, but I did watch Sliders.
I didn't watch that.
Which is basically like, what if Stargate was fun?
I'm
sorry, guys. I was bored to tears in this episode.
My dad had the complete opposite reaction, where we tried to watch season 1 of Sliders, and he put it on, and he was like, this sucks. We're putting on Stargate. Nobody shot anybody in like 3 episodes. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, Sliders is the same basic like idea. Well, it's really more Quantum Leap, but it's just like because you don't have a whole lot of control over it, where you're sliding from world to world, and each world is slightly different and things, and you have to kind of explore it. But there's not as big of a military presence in there, which I think is what kind of turned me off of Stargate in general.
Well, I mean, just look at this episode. The U.S. military goes into a place they do not belong, and they solve all their problems. Like,
it is.
Back.
It also
is like imperialism isn't all bad, guys.
It's also just not that interesting to look at, because most of what you're seeing is a gray and brown military base, right? That's where the majority, because there's no, every time then they go to the land of the darkness, where I was like, look guys, I know that this is supposed to be fucking dark and that's the point, but I can't see shit. I can't see anything that's happening on my screen. So every time they went to the fucking pottery barn that is the land of light, I was like, oh thank God, a set. Thank God some set design, but they don't spend a whole lot of time there. I feel like they had to get out of there before it closed at 9.
Conveniently, every single planet they go to is a forest in upstate New York.
Yeah.
It's all Vancouver.
It's
all
Vancouver.
It's always Vancouver.
Somebody has said that before. How come every planet on Stargate SG-1 it looks like the woods in Vancouver?
They're always like,
it's always
another
Vancouver.
planet of trees.
Everywhere in X-Files is Vancouver. Vancouver is Santa Barbara, California. In Psych, every cable like TV show you've ever seen is in Vancouver for some kind of like tax purpose dodge kind of thing. Like Vancouver never I have no idea what Vancouver looks like, but yes I do because I've watched television.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Twin Peaks is Vancouver.
I can't believe they managed to pull off Vancouver with Santa Barbara. That is actually impressive.
You know that they were freezing, right? Like there are so many scenes of people like walking in shorts and t-shirts on the beach in Psych. They were all freezing.
I feel like film and TV people are just like, if we just change the hue of the screen, you know where you're supposed to, like, is it a little bit like yellowy? It's California. Is it orange? We're in the Middle East.
Oh, right, yeah. And if we're really deep in the Middle East, we put that weird, shitty sepia filter on.
Yeah.
The terrorism filter.
Right, exactly. Like you could just, I feel like you can just put a filter on whatever footage you have and be like, I've decided where we are.
Yeah.
It's blue. It's Antarctica.
It's this weird like visual shorthand you've always you have, and then if you actually ever get to go to Iraq and you realize it looks like everything else on the world. My eyes have
stop bragging about your trip to Iraq.
I've never been to Iraq, but
work it into every conversation. If you've actually been to Iraq,
I've never been to it. Listen, most people who've been to Iraq don't brag about it. Most people who've been to Iraq don't like to talk about it, even if you put them in a room with a therapist to do so. So,
oh fuck! All right, should we jump on to the next one?
Let's go on to Holiday.
Sure.
Celebrate.
Bizarre
Holiday.
Name for this. The weirdest name for this episode.
They just tied it into the last sentence of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely...
Thank you for my holiday.
Yeah.
There's definitely a moment where I'm like, there it is. There's the title.
Yeah.
When they say... Dan, you give me the description of this episode.
Okay. So in this one, we jump right into it where they're immediately walking through the Stargate into a place. And they are greeted immediately by a weird old man who says a bunch of weird shit to them about, like, my name is Daniel. Actually, my name is Jack. And then they're like, all right, this guy's weird. Teal'c goes, he's actually a legendary freedom fighter that is known throughout the galaxy, that when I was a slave, I was supposed to hunt down. This is a great honor to meet him. And then he touches a machine at the same time as Jackson. and the old man falls down and goes into a coma, and Jackson immediately goes like, "Oh, my demeanor has changed. I am much more formal and in no way acting conspicuous. Well, I would like to go home to my apartment in Vancouver, New York. Let's get out of here." They go back to the base, take the old man, put him in an infirmary, and then proceed to do a 15-minute fish out of water story.
I like that one. I like that
Yeah, which, and then they realize that the old man and Daniel swapped bodies, and then while they try to solve that, there is further body swapping shenanigans.
So this is the body swapping episode. I will point out that the old man is played by Michael Shanks, who also plays Daniel Jackson. So that's
which is my favorite thing about the episode.
Is that?
It's
that went over my fucking head.
In prosthetics.
Yeah.
Although I will.
Is it prosthetic, but then also like talking through his nose, like he's like, that's just Daniel Jackson with a cold.
That's genuinely impressive because I did not see that.
Honestly, at one point I was like, this old man looks weirdly like Jake Johnson.
Okay, that is genuinely impressive as on him as an actor, but also, why did they do that? They could have just gotten an old man.
No, I like this bit, right? Because he's got to play both roles. Also, I'm looking at Michael Shanks's. So I'm looking at the Ultra Imperialist Stargate wiki right now. I'm gonna read just a couple of sentences from Michael Shanks' wiki entry. Really, just one. Blah blah blah. He met his wife on the set of Andromeda. They have a daughter. Blah blah blah. His favorite villain is Anubis because he's so oily.
Annie, can you elaborate on that? Was Anubis particularly oily?
Is like, being oily a trait that you would like, that would make someone?
Does he mean character? Oily like? I don't know if he means physically
there is
oily.
No footnote to this.
I think he just means like he can get out of anything.
Is
sneaky.
He like he's a really
is the
sneaky,
word
he's a shifty character?
Well, but like he doesn't have a spoiler alert. He doesn't have a physical body, so they're like, "We got him," and then he just like sneaks out.
So he is oily in that circumstance. He's literal oil.
He is quite literally oil.
Yeah.
That's such an odd reason to make someone your favorite character. Who's my favorite character?
Yeah.
The guy that is just full of just pure grease.
I like a good wet antagonist.
So the big joke in the Stargate fan, Daniel is constantly dying. Like sometimes actually dies and comes back. And then a lot of other times, like this, almost dies. Like, just constant. They're like, he literally dies like 5 times over the course of the show.
So he's like...
And comes back.
He's like Supernatural. He's like the guys from Supernatural where they cannot go 15 minutes without going into cardiac arrest.
Right.
He also played Carter Hall, Hawkman on Smallville, which we just did a Patreon bonus episode about. And yeah, this guy is exactly who you get to play Hawkman on Smallville. So this old man is body swapping with Daniel. Teal'c and O'Neill also wind up body swapping in, I'll say, a pretty funny bit. Like, Colonel Bald Guy sends them back and says, "All right, well, go get that device that swapped them." And Teal'c and O'Neill stand on either end of this big device, and they both pick it up, and then both of them shock, and they both look at each other like, fuck.
Yeah.
Which
I love how General Hammond was like, treat it as hazardous material, and they're like, all right, we're just gonna touch it.
Yeah.
The very first thing they do is just grab onto it.
They're like, we don't need a hand truck or anything. You pick up the end that the old guy touched. I'll pick up the end that Daniel touched, and we'll pick it up.
Are they even wearing gloves? Like,
they put like weird insulation things on the handles, but I'm like, you couldn't pick it up by anything other than the handles.
Yeah.
Like, you
just watched this happen. You saw the deal. You watched this.
Bring a forklift through the Stargate and just go get it.
These people have fucking goldfish brains.
So
yeah.
And it's demonstrated, like, in this episode, after they capture Old Man in Daniel's body, they bring him in, and he says, I can't do this. I can't bring him back. The device is programmed so that there will be no reversals. I can't reverse him. And I'm sitting there going, okay, I know what this is. It's a fucking logic puzzle. Just grab a
Yeah.
fucking whiteboard. We know what's going. I know what. We all know what's happening.
Yeah.
Just do it. Just do it.
Futurama invented a new mathematical theory to do this with like 16 characters.
Yeah, my favorite is when Sam is like, "Okay, just listen to me. It's gonna get complicated." And I'm like, "Oh, we just switched two people and then switched them with, you know what I mean?"
I screamed at my TV. I said, "No, it's not."
They basically are like, all right, I have an advanced degree in mathematics. Now you have a fox, a chicken, and a bag of corn, and you have a boat, and you need to get them all across the river. But if you leave two alone, the fox will eat the chicken, or the chicken will eat the corn. How do you get them across? And they're like, all right, let's bring up a whiteboard. Let's solve this shit.
Oh my god.
So that's it. That's how they solve this. They swap around. They do the fucking transitive property.
Yeah.
And but whatever. We don't care about that. Talk to me about the old man in Daniel's body.
Okay.
You know
Andy,
what?
do you want me to do this,
I'm
or do
happy
you-
with that. Let me say that again. Tell me about the old man in Daniel's body. Tell me
Well,
all about it.
I watched all of MASH when I was in my early 20s. I think that covers it. I went to a Country Time buffet one time, and it was a wonderful experience. I recommend it highly. And I have a lot of trouble calculating the tips at restaurants.
Okay, there we go. Right. All
Yeah.
those are good. All right, go on.
Okay, so he undertakes these activities. He has a new lease on life. He's in a new young body. So what he does is harass people on the street to be like, tell me your ways! Teach me the ways of America! And in addition to that, after that, he makes friends with a homeless guy, learns how credit cards work, and buys everybody at a restaurant dinner. Proceeds to eat an ice cream sundae, and then is arrested.
I love this bit. I love how Michael Shanks is playing it. This is honestly, in these two episodes, the one time that I was like sitting up interested. I was kind of bored for most of this, but I love this bit of him wandering around going like, at one point the homeless man whose name is like Fred or Frank says Fred. They agree to go feast together and celebrate our friendship. And Fred goes, "Is it on you?" And yes, we shall feast on me, if that is the custom. I loved every like hammy minute of that. I loved him. Where would I find this credit card?
Is it? The vibe I got from the way he delivered that is the old man thought that they were going to be eating the food off of his body and was cool with it. He was like, that's the way you guys do it, then yes, you can eat an ice cream sundae off my stomach. I am down for whatever you guys are into.
I mean, yeah, if there's one thing we can say about Marcello is the name of the character?
Machello,
if there's one thing we can say about Machello, he down. Down to fucking claim. He's down for anything. He's seen a lot of shit, and he's ready to go.
Yeah.
So I like Michello's bit there.
The one moment where I was like, no, this is the 90s, is when he's like, meets the hostess at the restaurant, and he's like, you are an enchanting woman. And she's like, hits on her, and she's like, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, casual misogyny.
Yeah.
It's a compliment, because it's the 90s.
Yeah.
She was like, well, that inflated my self-esteem and made me feel good about myself. That was the best part of my day. Take notes, every man over 40.
Right, exactly. I was like, oh.
Waitresses love it when you talk to them like this.
Yeah.
Although I guess to her credit, she's not like happy about it, and she's not like she like the exact exchange is like he says something like, "You are enchanting. I would be honored with a kiss," and she's like, "Yeah, I fucking bet you would, pal."
Well, but she says it like with a sexy smirk.
Yeah,
like I would have been like, fuck off and get out of the restaurant.
Yeah, she doesn't go like, ew, gross. She's like, oh, eye roll, men, and walks away.
Yeah. This is after she's explained to him that with a credit card he can pay for all of their food.
Yeah.
Which, I gotta be honest, look, would it have I know that this is a little hacky, but I was waiting for it. I was expecting it. I wanted it. The very last scene, after everybody gets switched there, gets back, is like, Daniel Jackson's walking through Stargate, and he's just like, "Oh man, this is good. I'm really glad to be back in my own body. Now let me go check my credit card statement." What? And then
hard cut.
Executive producer Dean Devlin.
I can't believe they didn't do that joke. They set it up so well.
It's such the obvious bit. I was waiting for it, and when it didn't happen, because the way that it actually ends is like on such a very serious note. Michello dies, but right before Michello dies, they get everybody turned in, and so there's a very sad bit of Michello, like they click off his life support and goes flatline, and then Colonel Bald Guy says, "Welcome back, SG-1," and that's the credits. It's a very serious bit, and it's such a weird, serious tone for what is a very silly episode, and it ends so seriously. And also, fuck this guy. I don't care that this guy died.
Well, okay, his whole argument, he was like, catch him, and they're like, you gotta give Daniel's body back, and he's like, even if I could, I don't want to. And his argument is, hey, I was a freedom fighter, literally my entire planet was destroyed because of all the rad stuff I was doing to fight the evil Gould, and I don't deserve to die a sad old man. It sucks that he's gonna die, but you know what? I've earned it. And they were like, you have to go back into that corpse and die. And I was just like, I feel like you could just go get an inmate on death row or a guy whose body is fine.
Damn, dude!
Well, no, I don't know. They're the military. They do shit like that all the time.
I will say that, right? There is a moment where the colonel does say something like, here on Earth, the sanctity of the right to life is sacred. And I sat there going, you're a colonel in the U.S. military!
The Gulf War was like 20 minutes ago.
So many people. What are you talking about, dude? I get that guy's white, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of it is like, I think, especially early in the show, they can't actually let the team acquire any useful technology because why are they still traveling?
Yeah,
out in the Stargate. So, like, every chance they come across something useful, they need, like, a good moral reason to be like, no, we didn't get it this time because we believe in the sanctity of human life. It's like, if this was, like, the real Air Force, like, yeah, we would have it.
They would have been like...
At one point in time in this episode, Michello turns to the captain and says, when she's done her amazing logic puzzle, and goes, oh, it's too bad I'm going to die. I wish I could give you my technology. It would be amazing in your hands, and you could keep fighting the Gould. Dude, did you not take notes?
Yeah.
Do you not have a notebook? Scratch pads, some Post-it notes?
And code.
Also, it seems like it was pretty straightforward. You touch one, and other guy touch other, and you swap bodies. It doesn't seem like it's like...
How was that supposed to fight the Gould?
That was my next question.
I don't think that piece of... I think he built that piece of technology specifically for himself. I think he's got other projects.
Oh, he has other shit going on.
And they're all in code.
I was like, are the Gould like, my one weakness, Freaky Fridays? No! I can't defeat someone that's body swapped. Ah!
We're just gonna have a bunch...
Damn you, Jamie Lee Curtis!
Just gonna have a bunch of babies hold on to this end, and hey, Gould, come test your strength. Put your hands here and see what a red hot lover you are. Check it out.
One of the things I wrote down in my notes that I was like, that highly, technologically advanced notebook technology that this alien has is an iPad.
It's not even that, it's a fucking Palm Pilot.
Yeah, it's like the old screen. It's like what we thought incredible technology was going to be like in 1994.
Oh, the future sucks. The future's such a letdown.
I love how Star Trek was like future technology, holograms, food replicators, holodecks, and Stargate is just like iPads. End of list. We've reached the limit of our dreams.
I want to talk about the part here after they've captured Michello in Daniel's body, and after Colonel Bald Guy says sanctity of life or whatever. So they haul him back into the infirmary and go, you talk to this man. You talk to this old man. And you think about what you've done, sir. And they sit him down. And what proceeds to happen is that Michael Shanks has a sad guy dick waving contest with himself. Where the two of them talk about bad shit that's happened to him. And Michello goes, my wife betrayed me and was one of them. And old Daniel gets to go, they took my wife too. And then young Michello goes, well, at least you have a planet.
Yeah.
I guess so, man. I guess you win. I don't have a planet. I do have a planet.
I like that they stole Princess Leia's origin story for Michello. Like, they blew up Alderaan. Don't you understand?
Also, does Michello sound like a refreshing soft drink to anyone else?
It's limoncello.
Yes.
It's limoncello.
I am genuinely thirsty with you guys saying the name over and over again, where I'm like, I would fuck up a nice can of Michello so much.
It sounds like an Italian soda. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, man, this show loves apostrophes.
Mm-hmm.
Michello is spelled M-A-cello. Gould is G-O-A'-U-L-D. O'Neill is O'-N-E-I-L-L.
That one you can't pin on the Gould.
Yeah.
Teal'c is T-I-D-E-A-L-C. Look, I'm just going through the synopsis of this episode and counting all the apostrophes I can see.
Well, there's speaking of words that are said way too many times, there's also an apostrophe in Kill No Ream. Which I'm like,
right.
Like, that whole sequence where like Teal'c needs to get O'Neill in Teal'c's body to like meditate. He's like, you must go into Kill No Ream.
Oh,
and they say the word Kill No Ream 17 times.
I'm sorry, we've skipped over this. We haven't discussed the Teal'c and O'Neill body swap a whole lot.
Yeah, incredible acting.
I feel like
no, I'm just kidding.
Anytime you do a body swap thing, it's basically the actor equivalent of a dance-off, where you're just like, all right, bitch, acting challenge. You take my character, I take your character. Let's go.
We're at 1 second here. Let me go ahead to IMDb, type in Face Off. What year did that come out? That came out in 1997, so this episode actually predates Face Off by about 3 years.
Wow.
So they it was genuinely weird to see, having watched this show for years, genuinely weird to see Teal'c talk like a normal human man and not do a shitty Spock impression. But
which one do you think is doing a better job of impersonating the other? I
think Christopher Judge, who plays Teal'c, does a way better Jack O'Neill.
Well,
I thought I was really up. I was like, Richard Dean Anderson is the only actor who came into the show with like major stuff, because he had done MacGyver before this, right? So he's the only one coming in with like major work behind him, and I was like, that's your best Teal'c?
Yeah. Well,
really? And I thought Teal'c thought Christopher Judge did a better job of doing Jack.
Which is crazy, because Teal'c is the easiest acting job that anyone has ever had.
I don't think that's true. I think it's deceptive. I think Nimoy would tell you that it is actually very hard to play pure stoicism.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
Like,
you've got to project a lot with very little.
You don't basically give up most of the tools of the job, right?
That's fair.
Like, when your whole job is making facial expressions, you basically give that up. So I would say that's harder. I would say
Yeah, I was unfair because I was like, you're doing negative acting. Do it better.
It's definitely harder to play the Spock than it is to play the Kirk, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's way harder.
Yeah. I also think, though, like, Richard Dean Anderson, this is going to be a little mean. I feel like he's got one character.
Yeah, it's
Wise Guy. MacGyver, Jack O'Neill. He's got, like, wisecracking, loudmouth, kind of.
Annie, I have a question. Years later, do Richard Dean Anderson's one-liners land for you still? Because I thought he was the funniest motherfucker as a kid, and he got nothing off of me.
He's never been my favorite.
Yeah.
I way prefer the Teal'c, like when Jack is like, Lucy, I'm home, and he's like, you've called me Lucy. I don't like it. I prefer that. I prefer there's another episode where they say something about Oprah, and he goes, what is an Oprah? And I'm like, kills me. Love it.
I want to like make fun of this show for its humor, but at the same time, it's basically just beat all Marvel movies to the punch, where all of like his jokes are like, he's right behind me, isn't he? Or, well, that happened. Or, well, sounds like you're really glad to see us. Like, basically just steal all of Black Widow's lines from every Avengers movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, fuck. So, but they have to set up like an urgent timeline for why their body swap needs to be resolved. And it is basically, Teal'c has no immune system whatsoever because the worm in his stomach does it for him. But for him to basically not die of smallpox on the spot, he needs to go into meditation to let the worm do all of his body shit. So he basically needs to urgently teach MacGyver how to meditate.
They set that up for fun, and it doesn't really go anywhere, like, I feel.
Yeah, it doesn't. And it's, like, not... Like, they bring the Kelna Reem thing back sometimes, but it's not really, like, relevant. It doesn't... It's not like a big deal. So that it's like just a weird side thing to me. That
it's weird. So it's just it's adding more lore. It's adding more stuff to Teal'c. What else can we put on Teal'c? He has to go into Keanu Reeves mode, and he has to do a Keanu Reeves meditation to recharge his solar battery. There's got to be another character that's like this, right? Like another character that's got to like.
I'm trying to think of another character
like
that needs to commune with his belly worm to heal his diseases.
I was just thinking about like a character who's got to go into like stasis mode and then come back, right? Superman, kind of.
Yeah.
But got to recharge his mana, basically.
His explanation for how Annie, what's the name of meditation in this?
Kelno
Reem is like first day at a yoga studio where he's like, all right, I'm gonna break this down for you. Quiet your mind, focus on your soul, and then don't think. All right, can you follow all that? All right, you just did Kelno Reem. Good job. Crush it.
Next, we'll work on downward facing dog.
I didn't know that I needed Richard Dean Anderson to teach a yoga class, but because I was like, this is soothing.
Andy, if you ever need to branch off into a side gig, you could do meditation Stargate SG-1 style. You wouldn't even have to say it's Stargate SG and be like, all right, I'm starting my new Kelno Reem class.
I open a studio in LA, I'd make millions.
Oh,
millions.
Someone has definitely taught Kelno Reem, right?
Yes.
Like, someone's definitely like written a book or something about that.
Yeah. Oh, man. Better living through Stargate. The Teal'c system for wellness. Actually, I bet the guy that played Teal'c has written that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, what else is he doing these days? Selling those books on the convention circuit. Okay, so, Dan and Annie, do you still like Annie does. You still like
I do.
Stargate. Right, you religiously. Why do you think your dad liked this so much?
Oh, big question.
Yeah. I mean, he was a sci-fi guy in general. It was like, Battlestar Galactica was on, and then Stargate, and then Farscape, and just the Sci-Fi Channel. It was.
These are all my dad's shows too.
Yeah,
it was like that run. It was like, I don't know. I feel like it's like the dad version of like the TGIF lineup on or like Comedy Thursdays on NBC. It was like whatever night it was on like a Sci-Fi Channel. You had like all the hits back to back.
I miss programming blocks like that. I miss when television used to do like blocks of that, and everything would be kind of around a theme. I miss that. We'll never bring it back, and there's no reason to.
No.
you do have to understand, from the years 1995 through 2007, the Ludwig family has seen every single thing that has ever aired on the Sci-Fi Channel. Because our dad used to come home, post up, turn on the Sci-Fi Channel, and we would all gather around and be like, all right, we're watching what's this sci-fi original movie? A shark has been spliced with a giant snake? Pfft, guess we're doing it. Like, we've seen everything. One of the other shows Annie brought up was Roswell, which we watched like 3 seasons of.
Yeah, it's bad. It's like Katherine Heigl's debut, where like I vaguely remember the plot, which is like a bunch of like the Roswell aliens are actually hot teenagers. And then they like work in all of like the Area 51 themed like tourist stuff in Roswell.
Okay, so you're definitely watching Smallville next, right?
Yeah,
Smallville is what if every DC superhero was a hot teenager?
Yes.
So.
Yeah, got
it. It was like they all had corresponding superpowers. I think one of them could turn invisible. The other thing, so it was Charmed. It was just alien Charmed.
Yeah, I just remember like the characters, but that was one where the plot.
There was such an interesting like the mid-90s also had this real stretch of like very same-ish kind of cheaply made Canadian mostly either syndicated or basic cable television shows that were like there was like a dial on like 4 boys and 4 girls and 4 and just basically you could do the same thing, but on the 4 boys you'd just be like more guns. And 4 girls, you'd be like, more magic. Aliens, boys. Witches, girls. And you could do the exact same scripts. Charmed absolutely had body swapped episodes.
100%.
Right?
Probably upwards of 7.
That's a very good point. Is just like, so I think part of this show, like I wrote down like, when Michello as Daniel is like walking around the city, like exploring, I'm like, look at the 90s fashion. Like it is very much a product of its time.
Yeah.
And you have to appreciate that, like when you're watching it. But I do think that was like a particular era of TV, and it's definitely the winding down of the era of cable TV.
Yeah.
Well, it's the tail end of it.
No, it's mid-90s, really? Right? It's the mid-90s, so cable TV is like, we're on top! Nothing will ever defeat cable. Years.
So at the time, I don't know if this is still true, but at the time, Stargate SG-1 was the longest-running sci-fi show of all time. It went for 10 years, over 200 episodes. So it ran through the mid-2000s.
What a fucking bonkers timeline. I think another thing that kind of appealed was like we would watch sci-fi movies with our dad, and he would fast forward through all the talking parts where he would be like, we would just get to like the part of interpersonal relationships. He'd be like, and fast forward. All right, explosion. And I feel like Stargate SG-1 was just the parts of the show that he liked, where he was like, it was like lore, guns.
Are you happy that your dad made you watch so much Stargate?
I mean, I think I feel differently about it than Dad.
No, I'm cool with it. As far as shit I was going to watch as a kid, I mean, I didn't see the Ninja Turtles movie until I was like 24. So I missed out on some. I didn't watch the Goonies as a kid, but I have seen every sci-fi original movie.
Did you find it hard to like talk to other kids? I mean, just because beyond just everything about you and who you are. Was this one of the reasons why you found it hard to talk to other kids?
Well, guess what? We just showed you the Rosetta Stone for why I am the way I am. Because I grew up watching these, which was, as a kid, I was like, hell yeah, Stargate!
So, I think the other thing we need to mention is in our house growing up, we were not allowed to watch TV during the week.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right? So we got home from, weekends, fair game. Friday when you got home from school, fair game. But we weren't allowed to watch TV, and then our dad would just like walk home, plop himself on the couch, and put the Sci-Fi Network on. So if we wanted to watch TV, we had to like pretend like we weren't watching Stargate.
Yes.
Right? Like that was it. And so like all of our friends would be like, "Oh, this is what was on Wednesday night," and we'd be like, "Didn't see it, missed it."
Yeah.
Like No cartoons, nothing. Like, we were always behind on everything.
Yeah. But when you are 13, all of this Sci-Fi Channel stuff is the raddest shit. I was like, I'm gonna watch an octopus with the body of a dude kill a man. Like, fuck it, give me like pages of sci-fi lore all about it. I have nothing but free time, so right. I'm pro having watched this.
Dan, do we want to do a rating system for this? We should have thought about this before we did this. Nah. 5 out of 5 dads.
Yes. I think the question you asked... A 10
on the dadometer.
The question is, are you happy that you watched this as a kid is going to be our really only thumbs up, thumbs down? Because you're going to get us who are like, yeah, it's pretty cool that we watched this. Or you're going to get people of like, man, I fucking hated watching Arliss as a kid.
Whose dad's favorite show is Arliss?
I don't know.
Who was watching Arliss with their son or daughter?
We're going to find out.
You guys should do like a Twitter poll or something. Like, who else's dad watched Stargate?
Yeah.
All right. Honestly, if we turn this into a quest to find the most dad show,
yeah.
And I think like if we're talking about the most dad show, Andy Griffith's show is probably like a strong contender. But Stargate is also a very strong contender.
Yeah. Stargate is like top seeded.
All right. If you want to know how dad of a show Stargate is, one of my really good friends, this is not a happy story. Her dad has a rare form of dementia, and I was over there visiting her, and he like wandered into the living room, and he was like, "Can you put my show on?" She's like, "Okay, Dad." She's like, "Sorry, he only watches one show." And I was like, "What show?" And she's like, "I don't know, Stargate something." I was like, "Yeah, that's about right."
As everything falls away, names, memories, life experiences, Stargate sticks with you.
Yeah, she's like, he can't talk, but he wants to watch Stargate SG-1.
There are like dads who have been on their deathbeds and be like, "Come close, come close, O'Neill," and then just flatlined.
Damn, Dad, I was kind of hoping for I'm proud of you, but you know,
we got to figure out what happened.
Telling me the secrets of Kelno Reem is pretty good too.
Come closer, come closer. Anubis was the oiliest villain. Beep.
I'm ending the show there. There it is. Run theme song. Goodbye, everybody. As always, if you want to get at us on our fucking socials, at Break Mayberry on Twitter, support us with your money dollars, patreon.com/Breaking Mayberry. Really glad to be back. Thanks for hanging out with us, Annie. Appreciate you being here. I'm not going to give your socials out there because...
Unless anything you want to promote.
Like anything you want.
No, I only use my Twitter to complain about Boston public transportation. So unless that is your deal... leave me alone.
Also, do you want to use this platform to complain about Boston public transportation?
The entire Orange Line is shut down right now.
The entire goddamn Orange Line. Do you hear us, people?
Also, quick note, Annie, I want to take this opportunity to apologize because I know that you have like you follow less than 100 people on Twitter, and I'm one of them. And if you follow less than 100 people and I'm one of them, I am like 40% of your Twitter timeline. And so I'm sorry.
I said to Dan once, I was like, following Marty is really interesting because it's like half like really interesting political commentary and half like he got really upset with like a pair of socks yesterday and like tweeted 17 times about it.
That's my friendship with Marty in a nutshell. It's also our Discord messages.
Sorry if that was like too close to home.
That's exactly it. That's the perfect description of knowing me. You nailed it.
Because most of the time I'm like, that's, you know, like an interesting political perspective, and then I'm like, I'm just confused.
Marty, I think you have to make that your Twitter bio now.
All right, well, that's it. Good night. Oh, I don't have a closeout for this. We'll see you all down at the what's the fucking Air Force base called? No,
Cheyenne Mountain.
We'll see you all down at the secret Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Base.
And then we're closing on the Stargate opening noise. I'm like,